Clark Kent and Superman were both juggling a lot. As Superman, he had an interview with Lois Lane. At the same time as Clark, he had to deal with Lacey, the chairman's daughter and his boss, who seemed to have a thing for him. How would he manage all this without revealing his secret identity? But the pressure didn't stop there. Clark was about to face one of his most powerful enemies yet, a menacing force born straight out of the sun. After saving a group of astronauts aboard the International Space Station, Clark headed back to his small hometown. A wave of nostalgia hit him, mixed with a touch of sadness. He made his way to the old barn and lifted up a hidden floorboard. Sensing his presence, the Kryptonian spaceship hidden there came to life. It started playing a recording of his biological mother's voice.
My son, placed aboard this vessel is an energy module. All that remains of a once powerful civilization. It is my last gift to you. Once removed, the ship will grow cold and silent, and you will be finally alone. The power in the module can be used but once. Use it wisely, my son.
Just as he was lost in thought, the sound of a car approaching snapped him back to reality. Quickly, he stashed the crystal and secured the spaceship before heading outside. It was a real estate agent. With his adoptive parents gone and his life now based in Metropolis, Clark thought about selling the family farm. But when the agent mentioned the buyer wanted to turn it into a disposable mask factory, Clark shut it down immediately.
I don't want to sell this place to a big developer. Anybody who buys it has to want a real farm.
Our old friend Lex Luthor was stuck doing hard labor at a prison work camp. Then one day, a flashy, futuristic car showed up near the quarry. The young driver caught the attention of two guards and invited them for a spin, promising a ride they'd never forget. It turned out he wasn't kidding. The car, controlled remotely, zoomed off a cliff, with the two guards still inside. The driver, Lenny Luthor, Lex's daring and slightly reckless nephew, who was there to bust his uncle out of jail. Now free, Lex had one thing on his mind.
Destroy Superman!
First stop, the Superman Museum. Inside, he spotted a display featuring a strand of Superman's hair, strong enough to support a 1-ton iron ball. Lex stole it, already plotting to use genetic engineering to create a dark and destructive rival, someone who could finally take on the Man of Steel. The new owner of the Daily Planet, David Warfield, arrived at the newsroom with his daughter, Lacey Warfield. His goal? Boost profits by running sensationalist headlines, completely ignoring journalistic ethics and social responsibility. To top it off, he announced that Lacey would now be running the paper. After the meeting, Clark Kent voiced his concerns to Lacey. Despite her father's money-driven approach, Lacey wasn't entirely cut from the same cloth. She was upbeat, stylish, and surprisingly earnest. She even started to find Clark's sincerity and dedication to his work kind of endearing. Lacey didn't have much time to ease into her new role before a huge story broke. The US president had announced plans to ramp up nuclear weapons development to maintain an edge in the arms race against the Soviet Union. His goal? Establish the US as the global leader in nuclear firepower. A boy wrote a letter to Superman, which soon turned into a public plea. He asked the hero to get rid of all nuclear weapons and make the world safer. Clark found himself torn. Should he step in and eliminate the nuclear weapons to ensure peace, or should he respect humanity's right to decide its own fate? Seeking guidance, he visited the Kryptonian AI at the Fortress of Solitude. The advice he got was clear: stay out of it.
And yet the Earth is threatened by the same fate as Krypton.
The Earth is too primitive. You can flee to new worlds where war is long forgotten.
If you teach the Earth to put its fate in any one man, even yourself, you're teaching them to be betrayed.
Lois's visit ultimately helped him make up his mind.
Clark? Clark? Clark! Things aren't that bad!
Clark! Never set one of them above the rest. Love all humanity instead. That's not fair.
After erasing Lois's memory of their conversation, Clark made a bold announcement at a global summit with representatives from every nation present. He promised to destroy all nuclear weapons, ensuring the safety of every person on Earth.
And so I've come to a decision. Effective immediately, I'm going to rid our planet of all nuclear weapons.
In response, countries launched their entire stockpile of nukes into space. Superman gathered them into a massive net and hurled them into the sun, obliterating the weapons once and for all. Not everyone was thrilled about this move, especially the world's top arms dealers. Furious at the loss of their lucrative business, they secretly teamed up with Lex Luthor. Luthor pitched them a chilling plan. By combining Superman's DNA with nuclear material, he could create a being powerful enough to defeat Superman. The arms dealers agreed to fund his scheme. They sent a missile infused with Superman's genetic material into space. When the missile detonated on the sun's surface, the result was Nuclear Man, a formidable new villain. Nuclear Man surveyed his surroundings, then flew straight to Earth and landed at Luthor's residence. The mastermind was ecstatic, but it didn't take long for him to realize that his new baby wasn't interested in following
I am
orders.
the father now.
To prove his control, Luthor led Nuclear Man into an indoor space. Instantly, the new villain lost all power. Luthor had already knew the critical weakness of Nuclear Man. Being born of the sun, he loses all power without sunlight. In the dark, he's completely immobilized. Lacey wouldn't let Clark say no. She insisted he join her to watch Lois interview Superman so the four of them could have a chill afternoon tea together. While Clark was busy switching between his personas to handle Lacey and Lois, Luthor broadcasted a special frequency that only Superman could detect. He claimed he'd blow up the Empire State Building. Of course, Superman headed straight for a showdown with Nuclear Man. During the fight, Nuclear Man actually lifted the Statue of Liberty and hurled it toward Metropolis. Superman caught it, but before he could even think, he was blindsided. The fight ended with Superman seriously hurt, his red cape drifting down to the streets below. Badly injured, Superman made his way back to his family farm. Using the green crystal, Krypton's last hope, he was able to recharge and get back on his feet.
All that remains of Krypton's energy is yours. After it is gone, you will belong solely to your new home. If our dying planet can save your life, my son, we have not died in vain.
Thinking Superman was out of the picture for good, Lex Luthor celebrated his victory. He pocketed a big payout from his shady arms dealer backers, then kicked them to the curb. Nuclear Man set his sights on Lacey. He stormed into the Daily Planet ready to kidnap her. Now fully healed, Superman was waiting for him. He had figured out Nuclear Man's weakness. He tricked his foe into stepping into an elevator, and as soon as the doors closed, cutting off the sunlight, all his power vanished. Superman seized the elevator and flew it all the way to the moon, tossing it there. But a crack in the elevator doors let in a sliver of sunlight. That was enough to revive Nuclear Man. After a brutal fight, he buried Superman under the lunar surface and flew back to Earth. He grabbed Lacey and flew her into space. After recovering, Superman moved the moon to block the sun, creating a solar eclipse. Without sunlight, Nuclear Man was completely powerless. He rescued Lacey just in time and got her to safety. As for Nuclear Man, Superman dumped him into the reactor core of a nuclear power plant, where he turned into a clean energy source. The Luthors didn't get away. Lex was caught by Superman and sent back to prison. Lenny was sent to a juvenile rehab center. In the final moments, the former editor-in-chief convinced city bankers to back his bid, successfully regaining control of the Daily Planet. Superman 4. The Quest for Peace is the final installment of the classic Superman series and marked Christopher Reeve's last portrayal of the Man of Steel. The movie attempted to blend superhero action with pressing global issues, aiming to tackle themes of social responsibility. Despite its noble intentions, the film fell short in nearly every department: script, production quality, and thematic execution. While the idea behind it was commendable, its weak execution left audiences disappointed, failing to deliver either the excitement or the depth they expected. Ultimately, the failure of Superman 4 not only brought an end to Christopher Reeve's era as Superman, but also contributed to a prolonged decline in the superhero movie genre. It wasn't until the early 2000s, with the rise of films like X-Men and Spider-Man, that superhero movies regained their footing and began to thrive once again. Nothing beats the original movie. A great film deserves to be watched all the way through.